So networking and informational interviews, like I said, this is the most, you see it right here, the most important part of breaking into a new industry is this, because people get you jobs. A lot of jobs aren't even posted and they just have someone that says, hey, I actually have a perfect person for that. And then they automatically get the job. So it is important to network, get your name out there. First thing you want to do is find professionals in your industry of choice. It could be people in the position you actually want to have. It could be HR people or recruiters. It could be managers that are kind of like, they have a decent knowledge of the industry. They're not the VP level where they're basically impossible to get a meeting with, but they're pretty high up. Or people you know that have switched industries themselves. There are tons of them. I went and I got my master's degree in higher education, student affairs, and I was one of the few at the beginning that didn't go into classic higher education. I went into a nonprofit. And now I had like a 50-person class. Almost all of them are out of higher ed now. Almost all of them have switched industries. And that's just one master's degree. So I know each of you know at least one person that has switched industries. And it's good to even just talk to someone, even if it's not the same industry they're switching into. It's just good to talk about their experience. You can get an idea. So that's a couple examples. Start going to networking events. There are virtual, there are in person. The options are endless. So you can't say, oh, I don't have time, because everyone has time for a virtual networking event. I promise you that. Even my BNI group, it meets 7:30 to 9 a.m., a little early on Thursdays, but you get it done before the workday. It's like a second workday in itself, in a good way, like you're being productive in the morning. So Chamber of Commerce, there are so many in Northern Virginia. I have truly lost count. There's Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce, there's Fairfax, there's Arlington. So you get to take your pick, but there are tons of chambers of commerce on top of the Virginia Chamber of Commerce, and they are putting on networking events like there is no tomorrow. So that's a great group to look at. Rotary clubs, again, all over the region. They do in-person and virtual stuff. BNI, again, many chapters out there. Nextco is another one, and that is just a few. So there are so many networking groups, like one-off events, things like that. Highly consider like starting to look through those. Even if it's just a general networking event, people in this area are insanely well connected. So you never know who you're going to meet at these, and that's a good thing. So highly encourage you to do this. LinkedIn deep dive searches, I will show you in a moment how to do this, but this is what you want to do to find people, because naturally, like I said, you have contacts in your own industry, maybe like a couple others, but maybe the industry you want, you just don't really have that many contacts. So what you do to find those is a LinkedIn deep dive search. So you're looking up the company and seeing all the different people there, and you are cold messaging them. You are finding alumni from your university that work at this company of interest, or they work in the fields you want, and you're starting up a conversation with an alumni you have never met. But that's how you do it. You have to do some cold messaging, but LinkedIn is the best place to look, because at this point, most people have a LinkedIn. So that's why I also mentioned update your LinkedIn if you haven't, because you're about to be doing a lot of searching on there. And then lastly, informational interviews, which I will show you in just a moment what this is. Informational interviews. A lot of people hear this and they're like, Laura, what is that? Like, that sounds excessive. I'm already trying to interview. It is simply networking with an agenda. That is all it is. It is just networking with a set plan of what you're going to talk about, which a lot of times alleviates nerves. So if you're an introvert, you just like haven't networked in a while, you're feeling a little rusty, this is a great time to do an informational interview, kind of get your feet wet. Plus, you're getting the questions answered that you actually need. So first of all, you want to prepare 5 to 10 questions to ask them that will help you. And I'm not talking about where'd you go to school? Where do you work? Because you can find that on LinkedIn. Like, that is so easy to find. You don't want to go in and say, how is your third child, Charlie, doing? I saw you at a soccer game. Like, don't go that deep, but enough that you know the information. So you want to be asking questions that are still about them, because you want to know like that you're interested in them, but you're asking things like, what technology would you say you use on a daily basis as a marketing analyst? What would you say are the top 5 skills that you absolutely need to have to be successful here? What is something you wish you had known about this job before you started it? So think about stuff that you would want to know that you just can't ask in an interview because that would come off weird. This is a time to get the real stuff. And that's going to help you with your materials, all of that good stuff. So informational interviews, just the best thing you can do. Don't end on a weird, like sad question, because you are going to ask some stuff like, what's your least favorite part about your job? Don't let that be the last question and be like, okay, thanks for chatting. And end it on a happy question. Like, what is your favorite part about your job? Or like, where, like, what are your goals for the quarter? And like, are you excited about them? What's your favorite project you've done this quarter? So end it on something happy, so you're not leaving on a negative. Make it like 30 minutes to 1 hour. Zoom tends to be easiest just because people have started loading their calendars back to back to back. So Zoom can be easy. If you have access to in-person, fantastic. But just know a Zoom or a phone call sometimes gets you in the door a little faster. Send questions at least one day in advance, if not two. So just shoot them an email and say, hey, I'm really looking forward to chatting in a couple days. These are the questions I want to ask you. No pressure to look at them in advance. Just wanted you to have them just in case. Really excited to chat. Bam, done. Just in case, because I've had some where I'm looking forward to chatting. I send them the questions and she said, listen, I'm actually going to answer all of them in an email because I don't want to forget anything. And then we still met after that. So some people have that preference and you don't know. So it's good to send them in advance. Especially if it's like a complicated one you're asking. A couple examples. Are there any additional certifications or schooling that you would recommend for this line of work? What skills have you found essential for success in this occupation? Who is your primary competitor? Gives you another idea for who to apply to secretly. And then the last piece, I call this spaghetti connections. So usually it is successful. This is at the end of the conversation. You say, thank you so much for your time. I learned so much. Based on my interest in Google, is there anyone at your company or in your network that you would recommend I talk to? And the worst thing they can say is, you know what, I think I do, but let me get back to you. I have actually never had someone say no. They always give me a new connection. And that means for this cold messaging, you just have to put in the front end work, but then after that, you always have people connecting you to someone new. So it ends up being super easy. It's kind of just passively happening for you. You do have to meet with them, but you have people connecting you to all these new folks. So that's why it's good to get into someone at the company you're interested in or that industry, because they tend to know a lot of the people that you would need. So don't forget spaghetti connections.